Can everyone hear me okay? Hello, can everyone hear me? Hello, is everybody there? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So where is everybody at? Emily, can you hear me?
Hi, this is Nora. I'm in Salem.
Oh, hi. Thanks for joining today.
Hi, my name is Nat, and I'm in Sunset Corridor.
Oh, hi, Nat.
Hi.
So is everyone watching? I'm on share screen right now and still kind of playing around. So in the last two sessions, have you made it to the last couple of sessions of Ignite?
If you're asking me, my answer is no. I'm
Okay.
a new agent, so I've just been to one other session. The one right
Okay.
before this.
Okay, super.
Yeah.
Well, I'll introduce myself. My name's Laura Knight. I am in Klamath Falls, the southern part of the state. I'm a solo broker. I was with a different brokerage, and about 4 years ago, coming up on, I switched over to Keller Williams and never looked back. The main reason I love Keller is if you want education, you can get it. There's, we get to run our business our way under the Keller Williams umbrella, and it makes a big difference. That's what works for me. Some people that, I talk to other agents at other agencies, and they don't get it yet, and they don't believe me when I say 100% when you cap. So does anybody, what is it that you're looking for today? Just to gain additional information? Or have you followed along? You can unmute yourselves. Hi,
I
Mara.
better followed along. Hey, sorry, got stuck on a little call.
Oh, that happens. Welcome to real estate.
Exactly. Okay, I'm gonna jump in and do accountability real quick, and then I'll let you take it away.
Bless you.
Who wants to start? Emily, you want to go with your accountability? Don't all jump at once. All right, Jeannie, go for it. Oh, here's another attendee.
I did my Christmas cards. I've been still going to businesses, to HR, handing out materials. I had a new client come in yesterday, getting them set up to go show property. And that's about it.
Awesome. Oh, that's okay, Emily. Kevin?
I made like a little list for a family friend of houses in Eugene. They were already like semi looking before that they found out that I was in real estate since I'm so new. So they ended up already kind of having a house that they wanted. But I told them, I was like, hey, like I'll like still make you a list, see like if there's like anything else, like if that's for sure. So yeah, but they ended up going with the other house. Like was a bummer, but besides that, yeah.
Keep going. Yep.
Yeah.
Building that awareness. All right, Courtney?
Out of like the 60 emails I sent the other day, only 3 people replied, and only one was like, yeah, I'm interested in buying, but they told me a better email, and the email they gave me doesn't work. So I'm hoping somehow to figure out how to contact them.
Yeah, reach back out and like, hey, can you confirm that? And I wouldn't get too down about responses on emails. I feel like that's typically a pretty low response touch. It still serves as a touch, which is good because it builds awareness, but it's not common to get a lot of responses from emails.
Yeah.
Perfect. Nora?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was trying to raise the volume on my phone, but the only thing that I've been doing is contacting my close friends, because some of them they want to buy a house and all that, but it's been kind of hard because with all the festivities, they take vacations and all that, but I'm still working on that.
Good job. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Ashley?
I have my December email that went out, the December newsletter I got started. I have the January ready to go, but I haven't sent it out yet, obviously, because we're still mid-December. I made my 10 contacts already today. I might still try and like reach out to some more people later this afternoon. And I'm just waiting to hear back on that offer until Thursday.
Fingers crossed. Lots of long response time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. And coming back in. And there we go. Gary.
Greetings.
Greetings.
Accountability.
Yes. Tell me your
Oh, boy.
accountability.
Got my holiday cards just ordered today, sent out.
Good.
In the process now of making 5 phone calls to talk to 5 people, so I might need to make 10 phone calls. I've been going to some allied resources, like meeting up with some different lenders, doing different group activities in my community to reach out to people and to just spread the word, let people know I'm in real estate, new people that I meet. And I'm currently working with a couple of buyers. And that's about it right now.
Great job. Who's on iPad? Can't see. Let me scroll through.
Can you hear me?
Yep, there you are.
Oh, it's me. Sorry. I forgot to change my
That's
name.
okay.
Let me change it. Me, I just been reaching out to my vendors that I know. And that's they're kind of slow because they're also on vacation, but that's what I've pretty much been doing.
Awesome. Keep it up. Perfect. Nat?
Hey there. Yeah, I've been just still working as a brand new agent, 3 weeks in. I've been out and about at events and doing some great networking at all kinds of spots. Like I went to an alumni holiday party. I went to a concert. I've just been going
Good.
around and doing fun stuff. And then I'm preparing for my first buyer's consultation tomorrow, which is exciting.
Great.
And I just got my business cards in the mail Saturday, and my whole thing is bring a stack with me everywhere and just try to hand them out at least once or twice every time I'm outside.
Good. Awesome. Great job. And so each one of those people you talk to and give your business card a contact. So start keeping track of it for your numbers.
Yeah, good point. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And last but not least, it looks like we have Shane or Shanio. And then Marissa, you're on now.
Hey.
Hey.
So yeah, I've been trying to email and texting my contacts.
Good.
So that way I get spread the word out.
Awesome. Great job. Okay, perfect. So we are going to introduce Laura Knight. She is a realtor with Keller Williams Southern Oregon in the Klamath Falls office, and she's a solo agent. She enjoys being a part of the KW culture, helping her fellow agents succeed by learning the MREA business model, building a successful career, and a lifestyle by design. So you guys are very lucky to have her. She's going to go over the get to close. Make sure you have your content in front of you so you can kind of follow along, and I will let her take it away. Oh, you're muted. No, you're still muted here, let's see.
Got it.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm only on Zoom. How often? Okay. Thank you, everyone. This session is about getting to a successful close. It's true that not all the details make it to, or not all the deals make it to closing. The best tactic is to be prepared and have the mindset of navigating this process successfully for your client. So there's a lot of highs and lows, and it's our job to navigate to make it a win-win for everybody. And just remember the 6 core competencies you've learned earlier. The 5th one is coordinate the sale to closing. It's an essential skill that has made the list of core competencies. It is a skill to be taken seriously. Now we will move on to the rest of the transaction while remembering all the successful negotiation points. And let me get caught up here. Sorry about that. And these are all the things that are necessary to develop transaction timelines, apply best practices to avoid risk. Risk is huge. Identify ways to follow up after closing to build our business. So even though when the deal is over, it's not over. You constantly stay in touch with that person. Start thinking about what you will learn today and consider what questions you might have, and we'd like to learn more about, what we all want to, we all want to know how do we make it easier. So I don't know if you guys have partnered off earlier or not, or we can just open up conversation and we can do a little Q&A for a couple of minutes. Just let me know what you would like to do.
Q&A is good.
Okay, so We do have the real estate transactions aren't particularly trouble-free. It's a strenuous and trying time that requires all the attention and effort you can command. So with that being said, what questions do you guys have at this point? Anything that, has anyone had a closing?
Yeah, I have. I was just gonna ask, like, I mean, I've been in sales my whole life, but real estate is new. So when you're like at the bargaining table, or so someone makes you an offer, or I'll do it from the buyer side. You make an offer, they counter your offer. Typically, like, how many times you go back and forth before you're finally just fed up? Is that kind of up to clients, or
Well,
I don't
this
know.
is
I had a
when-
client that I don't even think they really wanted to make an offer, so they were making these low ball offers, and I don't know. I think I have to learn how to deal with that.
Okay, a lot of it starts in the very beginning. And when I get new clients, I like to ask probing questions to see what it is they're looking for. Of course, the first thing is if it's cash or if they're going with a lender, and if they've been pre-approved. Then get an idea. Are they looking for an investment property? Are they looking for just to get into anything? So these are probing questions that you get ahead of. Now, once you write an offer, you are the steward for that client, be it the seller or the buyer. So your job is to look out for them, but you work for them. So
Right.
you ask, more questions. Hey, I know that we've gone back and forth several times. When you were working with that buyer, the agent on the other side, did you have open dialogue with that listing agent?
I did.
And how was the listing agent? Easy to work with?
Yeah, he was pleasant. He was just like, I remember him saying, my clients don't really take any crap. They're gonna what's the word? They're gonna deny any offer, or they're gonna reject any offer that's not X. And as soon as I said that to my buyers, they're like, well, that's what we're gonna offer them. And I'm like,
Well, and
they wanted to get there
sometimes,
with the terms, like the
Yeah.
terms of their offer were what they thought was going to bring them the deal. Well, they didn't budge. They're like, no, they gave like $5,000 less. They countered with, and then my clients were just like, they didn't even want to mess with them anymore.
okay, what could have helped, I mean, we can't unring that bell, but
Right.
At moving forward is you don't necessarily have to share the conversation verbatim that you had with the listing agent. You could have used something like, the sellers are pretty firm at where they're at, but let's see. So try to find in your own words a way to keep it positive. All we can do is ask, because we all know buyers want to buy low and sellers want to sell high. And what we're going to do is find a way to meet in the middle. But sometimes if I have an agent that says, hey, look, this is it, I don't share that with my buyer. I'll find different words to convey the message. They're pretty firm on the price. So, we'll try, but let's see what happens. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I probably overshared them.
Oh, I mean, gosh, I'm the queen of oversharing. So, let's not go there, but it's just all part of it. And the more you do it, and real estate is different than other sales job, but the underlying is the same. You're representing either the seller or the buyer for a product. They're purchasing a home. It just happens to be usually the biggest, most important investment of most people's lives. So just take that lightly. No.
Right.
So, okay. Are we ready to move on from that? So as we're getting, just because you're getting the lead doesn't make the person your client. Getting it under contract, even if you don't, and this might help, Gary, even if you don't get an accepted offer, from the time that you get a client to write an offer, then they are more likely to continue working with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of people that say, oh, I have a client, but they haven't done anything yet, or they've just shown one house. So you find a way to secure that client and then move forward from there. Have most people bought or sold a home before?
I've just sold one.
Just a minute, sorry, I'm admitting here. So,
You mean personally or in business?
personally or in business.
Okay. I've done both personally, but in business, I've just sold a home.
Okay. And how did it feel for you? Who was your realtor? I mean, you don't have to give me the name, but how did you feel about that process?
Man, honestly, I didn't like it. I felt like she was trying to, in my last transaction where I sold a home, I felt like she was just trying to get out of there as fast as she could. And the only reason I used her was because of a past experience we bought from her like 10 years prior.
Mhm.
And she was the only name that I remembered. And then I felt like granted, it was like a messy deal, but it was still a home that we wanted to sell. And I just felt like she wanted to do the least amount of work as possible. And I made it so she had to work a little bit harder for her commission, I guess. And looking back at it now, I kind of understand where she's coming from because I'm on her side of things now. So I see where she was coming from, but I just remember telling my wife, like, you know, we're paying her X amount, she's going to have to work for it. She's going to have to help us clean this place up, or, you know, and she was just trying to get a low amount for it. You know, it was like, I could totally see her side of the story now though. So
Yeah. And sometimes it feels like that. And no matter what you do in life, it's all going to be a grind. So, you know, pick your grind basically.
yeah.
And it's okay. There's going to be fabulous days and not so fabulous days, but you just remember your focus, your one thing, and then, you know, move on from there. Did anybody want to read off the what's on the screen right now?
For going to that.
You're not coming. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. I represent what I noticed lately is that it's really hard to communicate with the seller's agent, either by email, text message, a phone call. It seems like they don't reply back to you. And if you are representing the seller, it will be like probably wise to have a backup person to take care of the business, or to reply to the to be in the loop about the transaction, because sometimes we have to meet deadlines and there's nobody there to communicate with.
Well, just so you know, moving forward, if ever you can't get in touch with a listing agent, you can always call the office and speak to their managing broker, because, you know, sometimes they could be out of area for 8 hours. Have you tried calling over a course of a couple of days and not getting anywhere? So if you really need to get in touch with that that listing agent, then, and they're not responding for one reason or another, it doesn't always mean that they are, I'm too busy. Things happen in life. Then you can call the principal broker and say, hey, I'm Laura. I've been trying to reach Sally, and is she on vacation or something? Because I'm not getting a response, and and then they'll take it from there. Does that help?
Yes, we did that. We contact the office, and right away the agent calls back. But there's no need to do that if you know that you have a transaction in progress. We should keep an eye on the communication to keep it flowing and to take care of the business.
Yeah, because you can't control other people. You can only control what you do, and always do your best to take the high road. So that's, again, you can't control the other side no matter how much you want to. So a lot of people work together to make closings happen. As the realtor, you and your co-op realtor or conductors and coordinate all the people and tasks that occur between the contract and the closing. It's likely also to be a time of high stress for your clients. That's why you try to get ahead of it. So your relationship and communication with your client is just as important as your relationships and communication with all the parties in the deal. And just so you know, if those that are here today, if you have not been under contract, by all means, if you're the listing agent, get in touch with that lender, talk to the lender. You can ask questions of the lender. How do they look? How are we doing? All of those questions to keep you in line. You can do the same with your title company. Hey, it's been, over 2 weeks. Where's my title report? But say it in nice words. Always take the high road and be professional and as polite as possible. And because you're building a relationship, and your name is your brand, and that's the relationship. So as you move forward, the more transactions you do, you want people to say, oh, great, I get to work with that person because they're timely, XYZ. I'll write down the list. And there's a reason that communication is one of our WI4C24TES, exclamation point. So we'll just keep on moving. So here's the timelines. This makes it look nice, but it doesn't necessarily work in the way that we would want it to. Sometimes you will have things scheduled, and then that schedule changes. So, just always kind of stay loose and stay on top of your dates. Throughout the session, we'll be drafting multiple timelines like contract deadlines, buyer timelines, sellers, etc. First, you're going to focus on the deadlines in the contract, because that's really important. Nothing's worse than missing a deadline. You'll need to sample. Do you guys have your sample contracts with you? Hopefully. Anyway, the first thing that you'll do is use that contract to plot out different deadlines and that are relative to the contract's content. So once you get something under contract, then you'll have your inspection period. Now, keep in mind, that's if you're doing like the whole home and you have the pest and dry rot. Those are the two most popular inspections. And if I ever have a buyer that says they don't want the inspection, I like to let them know that it's kind of like a one-time insurance policy, because nothing's worse than you're in a house for a year and something happens and you go, well, why didn't someone tell me? So some people, it's because they're tight on funds or whatever. But that's always something that you can negotiate. It's something nice to let them know that it's kind of like a one-time insurance policy. If you're doing rural properties, which we have a lot out here in Southern Oregon, then you're also going to have your well testing for water potability, sometimes for the flow test. Then you're going to have your septic, where people like to have it pumped and inspected. And sometimes people will want to have additional inspections, let's say, if it's electrical or the heating system, things along that line, or maybe even just having the chimney inspected. So write those dates down so you can remember when those dates are, so you're not out of compliance, because once you get out of compliance, you may shoot your buyer or seller in the foot because, you know, you missed that deadline and now there's no recourse for the buyer. Anyway, went off script, sorry. Did you have any questions on that? On timelines? Because you do know that in the contract, if they do find something that is a no-go on the whole home inspection or on the pest and dry rot, that within that inspection period, if the people are not pleased with the inspection and you can't come up with a remedy, then they can terminate the contract and get their earnest money back. So let's brainstorm on all the other people working on the transaction. We know that there's the buyer, the seller, both the buyer's agent and the listing agent. So let's write them down. And who else will be involved in completing this transaction? So inspectors, title, lending, in some cases, an attorney, if you have something in probate. So everyone can share. If you guys want to just speak out and share other people that are included in the transaction. Bueller, no, just kidding. So yeah.
Title?
Hello?
Yeah, title.
Oh, yes.
Sometimes
lender.
lenders.
Yeah.
Inspection.
What about property managers? What if
Oh,
there's a tenant? You know, sometimes you've got an investor who wants to buy this property, and you know, most tenants are not happy about selling, but you can still work with them. But so yeah, and in some states you'll always have an attorney involved. In Oregon we don't, but in the case of probate, things like that, or sometimes if you get a red flag on your title, guess what? If there's something that was done through an attorney, let's say a BK, you are now communicating with that attorney as well. With the appraiser, if you're the listing agent, you make sure that the appraiser has access to the house. And if you're the buyer's agent, you just wait for the appraiser and fingers crossed. The same with the seller. Insurance, always remind your buyers that they need to get homeowners insurance, get quotes as soon as possible. Movers, for your seller, hey, your closing is on the 31st. You can't have your movers calling you on the 28th saying, hey, you know, we can't make it. It happens. So it's good to have that open communication and then always have somebody else in your back pocket to where you can bring them in if you need that help. Contractors. And not only do we have all of these people, but these are future contacts, so you can expand your sphere. So keep that. It's always working. Everything, you know, is related. Everything kind of comes together. And Family members, whether you like it or not. Sometimes you will be dealing with a son, daughter, a mom, a dad, a cousin, a personal representative. But you focus on doing your job to the best of your ability. And some days we do need a little pick me up. So you talk to somebody who can say, you know, it's okay, you're going to get through this. And, you know, to talk it out without showing that to your clients. Let's see. So how many people have gone through a whole home inspection and read the reports? They are fun little reports, depending on who your inspector is and what type of platform they use. It can be as simple as a 15-page report to an 84-page report. I prefer the inspectors that use the smaller reports, and I like to get ahead of it and tell my buyer, don't be overwhelmed. Some of the items on those reports are going to be repetitive, because if there's a window with a cracked seal in a bedroom, it will show up in that bedroom, and then it will also show in the report as windows. So, and the same with electrical or heating, things like that. And if you don't understand something, feel free to contact that inspector and say, before I present this and talk it over with my buyer, can you explain this to me? And a lot of the time they will have, they're limited on what they can inspect because they can't peel back walls and things like that. So they'll just refer, if there's something with electrical, to go and talk to an electrician to do a further evaluation, or a heating specialist or a roofing specialist. So any questions or anything along that line with all the people that are involved? We shall move forward. Now that we have the list of all the different types of people that we work with, and they were working with the buyer, you start filling out the buyer timeline in your participant guide. However you like to set that, and then later on, if you wanted to transfer that into your command, then that's awesome. Write down your timelines that come out straight out of the contract, when they're supposed to have their earnest money in, when your inspection deadline is. And if you can't get an inspector within like the 2 weeks that we usually ask for, make sure you get an addendum out to extend that inspection time. Because here in Klamath, during hunting season, we lose half of our inspectors. God bless them. So anyway, you've got to stay on top of those deadlines. And then all of the documents, like if you need to do an addendum, or if you need to extend because you've had your inspection, but now your buyer wants to have the furnace looked at. So make sure you get everything in a timely manner. And don't just email a document over to the listing agent without sending them a text. Just sent you an addendum. So that way they're aware, because if somebody has multiple transactions, they may miss it, not purposely, but it happens. So it's always good just to give a little reminder or hint. Let's see. And so you'll find also that we use a lot of abbreviations, BA for buyer's agent, LA for listing agent. You'll see that in the in your MLS and private comments. You'll usually see the LA, the BA, or whatever initial you like to use for LO, loan officer. So an example of several to-dos influencing each other and leading up to a deadline is the inspection, which we've talked about. Do you guys have a list of vendors that you have in pocket right now?
Yeah. I have a few. I'm gonna meet with one in the next week or so with a different product than all my other lenders have. So
Okay.
I'm pretty excited about that because I feel it'll really help the clients that I'm tending to work with more and more right now, which is first time home buyers and people that are having a hard time with finding lending or knowing the next step or thinking that they can't own a home. So I'm pretty excited about this meeting coming up.
It is fun. Yeah. And it's nice to get your name out, and every contact we have, it goes into our sphere. But you'll also need to get on that vendors list, the different inspectors, you know, again, your contractors. In Klamath, we have one title company, but on occasion I will use a title company in Medford. Let's say I have somebody that's in Medford, they're the seller. And so it's going to be easier for them to just close over there. So I'll open it over there. But it's nice if you can have that list of all the different vendors and multiples of them to give it to that buyer. And if they say, have you used this person? Yes, I use several on a regular basis. Even if this is your first transaction, and find your own words. Nothing's worse than saying, I love this guy, he's great, XYZ, and then he doesn't respond to a phone call. So, you know, I leave it up to my buyer to make the call, or my seller if they're getting a pest and dry rot. Sometimes, depending on the circumstances, I will make the call to set the appointment, and then have the inspector call the client directly. Also, get ahead, especially with first-time buyers, let them know the process of the transaction, how it's going to transpire. So at each one of these points, just double check that you're right on top of things, and stay on that as much as possible. And if you overlook a step, don't beat yourself up, just get on it, take it as a learning lesson, because your first few transactions, if you have a mentor, lean on that mentor as much as you can, because sometimes it gets bumpy. And for me, I always find comfort in going over my checklist that's in command and making sure I've got everything, because it's, again, you get busy, there's a lot of things going on, and nothing's worse than having your check held up over, you know, one document that you forgot to put in. Guilty. So anyway, get this out of the way. So again, inspector list to the buyer, make sure you get your earnest money in. Inform the listing agent of the inspection schedule, because the listing agent then needs to let the seller know when to expect the inspector. Some sellers will want to hang out. If I have the seller, I like to let them know, just let the inspector do his job. If he asks you questions, just answer them. Otherwise, you know, the inspection takes longer, and it could throw the inspector off course of what they're usually looking for. And you can also, with the home inspector and the pest and dry rot, you can ask for a walkthrough. And that's where at the end, the inspector will walk through the home with the buyer and or the seller and the agent representation, and explain, these are the 4 major things that I want you to be aware of. There's a lot of small things in the report. Not a major hazard, but you need to know you've got about 10 years left on your roof, something like that. So be aware of all of that. The appraisal, this is when you get really close and chummy with your lender to see when the appraisal is going to happen. And even though let's say they do an appraisal on Monday, it doesn't mean that the appraisal is done. You need to find out when the due date is, and that's what you go by. So, and that's huge, because then once you get that and you've met the other contingencies, or if there's any contingencies from the lender or a condition, then you can get that rectified before you get your clear to close. And not everybody does walkthroughs. I like to do a walkthrough with my clients. But if the seller is busy and doesn't want to accommodate the buyer, the seller is not obligated to. Let's say they're in the middle of moving and they're trying to hit their deadlines. Be considerate of that, and see if there's a way that you can find a time for a final walkthrough before the actual close. So, any questions on that? Okay, to go into even more detail, here we are. Communication deadlines, communication of contract to the other parties, lender and buyer communication, communication of a list or lists of recommended title companies, inspectors, insurance agents, etc. And that's one that it's also a great way to get your name out there, is talk to the insurance companies. It's kind of like the little sleeper person out there. So pretty good on that. Scheduling and communication with inspectors and listing agents, sending amendments or inspection reports to the other side. There's title and lending. And if there is any addendum that is adjusting the timeline for close, remember, once you have both signatures on there, send it to your title company. Otherwise, they're in the dark. So that's another form of communication. Another thing to ask yourself, when am I reminding the buyers to not make big purchases? As soon as they're pre-approved. Don't buy a car. Wait till after you close before you buy the furniture. Don't do anything outside of their norm. Otherwise, they may not get the clear to close. And nothing's worse than you are 2 weeks away from closing and your buyer loses their job. Yeah, that's no fun. Also, anytime there's a holiday, there's going to be a delay in the process. So whenever you're writing a contract, let's say it takes 30 days and you go under contract on the 20th of November, where you're going to land is right in the middle of when everything's starting to crunch for the holidays, because with Thanksgiving, you lose 1 day there. Then with Christmas, Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, depending on where it's at and who your title company is, you're going to have to sit and wait till they get back into the office. And anytime you lose 1 day, figure it takes 2 days for them to get back up to speed. On negotiating the inspection reports, first, read it over. If you have questions, again, speak to the inspector. If you need help on how do I negotiate this, because the buyer says, I want all 100 things taken care of. And that's when you need to let them know there are 3 major things I see on here. We can ask for everything, but if we do, they may just rip it up and say, I'm not going to do anything. And I like to remind the buyers that the seller is never obligated to make the repairs, even if it's a lender required repair. Of course, that means that the deal goes to the wayside. So you find a way to negotiate both sides between the agents and with the buyer and seller. So that's like a class all on its own. But always be cognizant of that, of how to negotiate not only with the other side, but how to get your buyer or your seller on board. And if it's something that is a material fact, if you have the seller, hey, look, you've only got 2 years left on your roof and you're aware of that. So if they ask for something, we will need to make a concession for that, and because it's not just this buyer, it's going to be every other buyer that comes in that's getting lending. So there's ways to negotiate that. And when do I touch base with the lender, title company, or listing agents? Constantly throughout, even if it's just on Monday saying, hey, I'm touching base. I've got XYZ done. Is there anything you need from me? Our timeline is up by the end of the week or something. If you're, you know, one thing that some people forget often are the seller disclosures. If you're the buyer's agent, make sure you get those disclosures from the listing agent as soon as possible. Are you guys familiar with the property disclosures at all?
Yeah,
Okay.
I am.
good. So the way that you're going to go through this, you know, you've got your contract, you're doing all these things. I talk with my hands, sorry. When you do all that, start figuring out if it's an active communication or if it is a document, you know, and if it is a document, who is it going to? With the inspection report, not all sellers want the entire report. If you're doing a repair addendum, they may only want those pages that pertain to the repairs being requested. So just keep that in mind. That's a form of communication. And find out, like sometimes I'll have buyers or sellers that can only do things in person. They don't do email or DocuSign. I have a seller right now that only communicates through email and text. So it's not always easy because I can't talk with my hands that way, but you still get the job done. It's just you learn how to adapt to the different forms of communication. Then what's your plan for follow-up after you send the document to the other side or whoever needs to you know, sign it? You talk to them, you say, hey, I sent it, when can I have that back? Or, you know, but it's a constant communication. And if you have templates in your platforms that you can use, so that really helps things out. So I have a little sheet of paper that I usually use as a cheat sheet to make sure that I stay on track. And I put, you know, LABA, you know, who those people are, the sellers, and then I just follow through, and it kind of goes along the same lines as my command. So we're going to start moving over to the other side, to the, sorry, I missed that slide, to the seller side. Seller transactions are a little bit different because, of course, now the sellers, they're going to always want the most for their home, and sometimes it's just not there. So I always be polite and respectful of someone's home. You don't know what their feelings are on that home. So just always be your best self on that. And try to get ahead of anything. Tell your sellers, hey, we're going to have inspections. There may be, you know, repairs that need to be taken care of. So here's a list of, you know, or on that list I provided, there are contractors. You know, so find out from them, or you like to let them know where you're going, you know, once you're under contract. So you try to alleviate as many fly balls as possible. But the timelines are pretty much the same. So now we're going to go through seller's list. So what is the first thing my seller needs? What do the sellers need to know and do? What do I need to know and to do? What does the rest of the team, the other agent, inspectors, lenders, what do need to know to take action on, and when? So it's pretty much like the buyer side, but not as, sorry, that's Lori Graves right there. So what does the rest of the team, sorry, what am I doing at each point to bulletproof the transaction and set myself and my sellers up for a successful close? So these are things at once you get the listing, or actually even before you get the listing, because when you go on that listing appointment, these are things you, if you're going head to head with another agent trying to get this listing, you let that seller know, I understand your needs and I'm going to get ahead of it. And these are the things that you need to know, and I'm there for you. So just another sales point there. And when you're the listing agent, you need to stay on the buyer's agent and say, where's the earnest money? And when, have you made an appointment for inspections? If you don't hear from a buyer's agent, it's okay to go out and ask the, get in touch with the buyer's agent. Communication is key. So we've already talked about if you get an inspection, there's repairs, you discuss that with the seller. And if there is a seller that, that hands are in the air, I can't do this, find a way to negotiate it. Think about what may happen if they go out of contract and bring another buyer in. Hey, that another buyer is going to ask for the same repair. The heater isn't working and it's cold outside. We need to get something done, but there's also negotiations in that. You can offer a whole home warranty. If there's a lot of little things, that whole home warranty for a flat fee, have the seller pay for it. It's a good thing. It has helped negotiations, in some of my transactions, so I can speak from experience. And again, as the listing agent, you can ask when the appraisal is due. And let's say it's due on the 14th, and at the end of day on the 14th, I haven't heard back from anybody. I can call that buyer's lender and say, hey, where are we at with the appraisal? And sometimes if the appraisal is in, they can say you appraised at value, but they'll never tell you what it appraised for. And then of course, going through the final walkthrough. And the graph here is pretty much the same as the buyers. Now, what you need to do, since we do our MLS, you need to make sure you get it pending. Make sure you're in communication with the seller on when the inspections are going to be, whether they want to be there or you're going to be there to open it up for the inspector. Once you get like a repair addendum, or let's say they have the inspection and they're not asking for anything, you need to communicate that with the sellers as well. The buyer calls you and says, nope, we're good, happy with the house. There's 5 switch plates that need to be covered or taken care of, but we can do that. It's a nothing burger. Relay that to the seller so they can kind of relax. And again, with the appraisal, there's a whole list of things that you can do. If you're the listing agent, have your sellers, if they can keep the house nice and tidy, be respectful of the appraiser, make it as easy as possible. It helps. Although, how the house is set up, furniture and furnishings doesn't necessarily go into the appraisal. Having clean functioning sinks and bathrooms and things like that helps. So let's see. Do we have any questions about the interaction points of deadlines, contracts, any of the things that are on the screen right now? Oh my God, I've talked so much, I put you guys to sleep. So again, communication is everything. You have to communicate. Thank you. When there's a contract, follow the contract and try to get ahead of it in regard to communicating to your sellers and buyers what to expect. There's a lot of risk of, well, you never told me. As with Gary, you know, now that he's a realtor, understands, yeah, sometimes I don't see how hard the work is, but the work is there. You don't have to look like a hero for your clients and say, oh, look at everything I've done, but you can confirm what you do. It seems like I'm not working, but, and then just touching, I have some listings that have been on the market for a while. I just give a weekly update. Hey, this is how many people have emailed it. This is how many clicks that we've had. This is on social media. This is everything there on all the different platforms. Oh, by the way, I did a radio interview on your property. It will be airing on Saturday morning at 10 a.m., whatever. Communicate that so they know that you are working for them. Oh, house cleaners is another good one. Sometimes if your sellers move out and it hasn't been specified in the contract and they leave a handful of things behind, that buyer that comes in might blow a gasket. Oh my God, there's, you know, 5 cords of wood and we don't want a wood stove. What are we gonna do? There's gonna be bugs. You know, sell it. No, just kidding. But have people in your contractors list of who can clean and what type of cleaning. Is it just doing like move out clean where they just broom everything, wash the mirrors and, you know, the bathrooms and things like that? Or is it a top to bottom clean, getting carpet shampooed, all of that? And if you do have a buyer that says, oh my God, these carpets are gross and we can't afford carpet for another 2 years, you can actually put that into either the offer or wait for a repair addendum to have the carpets professionally cleaned once the sellers move out. Always, as the listing agent, send the contract immediately to the title company once you've come to terms and you have an accepted offer. Send that over with an open order. Once they open that order, they will give you a escrow number, a title account number, and share that with your seller. That way, if they have any doings or questions, they know who their escrow officer is and which title company they're going to. And I think I've already talked a lot about communication with the inspectors, the buyers, and any documents that pertain to that contract. And again, the documentation points, is it an active communication or a document? And you can put this in your task lists as well. To whom and from whom is the document going? Sometimes if I send documents from DocuSign, sometimes it will not go through to the party I want to email it to. So I will follow up with a text. Hey, I just sent you an email. I just wanted to copy you on it through DocuSign. Or once the seller signs it, it should kick back. Let me know if you don't get it. You know, if you don't have it within the end of day, let me know. And also ask people, what's the best way for me to communicate with you? Let's see. What is the plan for follow-up after a document has been sent to the responsible party? These are all things that you think about during the transaction, you know, as soon as possible. How do I get this? And then this way it becomes a no-brainer. You can think, okay, check mark done, check mark done, check mark done. And while you've got this transaction in escrow, you can go out there and market for the next transaction and the next transaction. And again, if there's any templates in your platforms, putting them together, are they going to serve? Yeah, we've already done the seller timeline. And here we are with command. Are you guys taking, you watch any of the videos on how to use your command? It's actually a really nice product, unless you've used other platforms. And you don't, it's like your cell phone. You don't have to use the whole platform if you're not comfortable with it, but find the handful of things that you can use that are automated that make your job easier. Command will automate keeping up with all of your timelines through your opportunities. You can track the progress of your transactions and opportunities, and you can set up client updates and checklists. Checklists are huge for me. Not everybody likes their checklists, but I go squirrel often, so it helps ground me and keep me on topic. It allows you to track everything involved with the transaction, from activity checklists and offer management to potential commission, income, and compliance. You can also customize your opportunity pipelines. You can find helpful articles on this in your Ignite reference guide in answers.kw.com. There is so much education and so many things that we can do between Command and Connect. It's crazy. Don't let it overwhelm you. I look at it like a toy, something fun to play with. It's like a playground. So when it's, you know, a foot of snow outside and I can't do anything, I get to geek out on my command. And it's fun. You can just go through the different little applets here. If you don't know what they're about, just play around with them. When it comes to doing any of your postcards or anything like that, in designs, they have all of that there. So you can play with it. You're not going to get in trouble. You can goof around, print it out, then look at it again and go, ooh, yeah, I can, this is good, but I can make it better by doing X, Y, Z. Let's see, been trying to get in. Oh, well, sorry about that. I know usually it's a slide presentation, but this is the easiest for me. So my apologies if it interferes with the slides coming through. Any questions on command and opportunities? Am I going to have to say Bueller again? Just kidding. So far, with me doing all the talking, has anyone had a chance to get any of their ahas? Is there anything here between both the timelines for the buyers and the sellers that perhaps this has helped you get to an aha moment?
I liked that you said to just like send a text out when you were sending over like a attachment from DocuSign, just to be like, hey, this is coming through, so they don't miss it. That makes just like double sure that they're getting it in time and that everything stays on timeline.
Yeah, because how many times are we doing something and all of a sudden we're like, oh, did someone send me something? And especially if you've got a hot property, like 2 years ago in summertime, you might get 3 or 4 offers, and offer number 5, you didn't even notice because that agent never said, hey, I'm sending over an offer. So you're not looking for it in your emails, because you know all the other agents have said that, and vice versa. As a buyer's agent, I want my contract to be noticed. And sometimes I will let the listing agent know I'm writing up an offer. Buyer doesn't get off work till 8 o'clock at night. Look for it in the morning or sooner. You know, just it's open communication. Anybody else?
I like the idea of physically drawing out a timeline to keep you on track with,
Yeah.
you know, installing those dates. I know I'll probably end up doing that.
Well, I am so old school that I believe there's a correlation in whenever I'm writing anything on paper, it helps with my memory.
Yeah.
And so I do my tech thing, and then I do my little book. And if there's something that's important, this is for 2023. So we've got our business plan all set up. But then I'll put like markers. I start getting the little sticky notes with the flags that hang out. And by the end of the year, it looks a wreck, but that's okay. It's my wreck and it keeps me on point.
Yeah, good idea.
Anybody else? Boy, I do talk a lot. We've got ways to go. So
Yeah, I like the advice that we have to communicate with the seller. I had a transaction when the seller was being really principal broker because they went on vacation. And we were we had deadlines. Yeah, it was like, I was like, should I try not? I talked to my principal broker and they're like, you need to really talk to their principal broker because I think there was like we found an oil tank and they weren't replying about it. So it was really time sensitive because we only had like 3 days before the inspection period and the repair addendums were over. So I think that's very important that before we submit an offer to talk to them to make sure like how the communication will go out throughout the transaction.
well, first things first, get that offer in, get that offer accepted as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And then start fleshing out that time of communication. I recently took a vacation and I have a listing, and the seller was really upset that I was taking a vacation. I'm like, well, it's been on my book for almost a year and we're not under contract. I've got someone to open the house anytime anyone calls. I've got notice in the MLS. You know, I've got my marketing on auto. So for 10 days, I've got ads running. So we're in good standing. And right now, don't worry about it because we've got rolling snowstorms and not a lot of people like to go look at houses when you know, are sliding off the street. So yeah. Okay, I better start talking quicker here. So here we are. We've gone over timelines. Now, best practices and risk avoidance. And there's a lot of risk in real estate. In case you didn't know, I have 3 attorneys in the family. So they're very successful. People like to sue people. No. So anyway, always try to get ahead of it. If you think you can get ahead of it or talk people through it, that's a real big one because we're going to be dealing with this every day. You know, full-time realtors, you're dealing with it every day. You look for solutions. Be as honest, just be honest and upfront, but choose your words wisely. You can go, oh man, this is not going to work. Or, hey, this is a difficult situation. I think this is something that we can consider to get us to the end. So you try to find that positive. Let's see. And deals sometimes fall through. I had a listing. The buyer came through, had the inspection, went 6 days without hearing anything from the buyer's agent. And by chance that afternoon, I was doing something else, checked my emails. There's a termination, no explanation. And, you know, you figure if they wanted any repairs, but then about the same time, I noticed there were a couple of homes similar that just went under contract that had come up within that 5-day period and gone under contract quickly. So you never know for sure until something closes. It was devastating to my seller. So in the very beginning of listings, I let people know that, you know, my job is to get us to the finish line, but I have no control over the buyer. All I can do is my very best to negotiate and get us to that finish line. So it's nice to preface that without being very gloomy about it. It's just a matter of fact thing. You know, I've got a pretty good record of getting to the closing line, but every now and again, something will happen. And that kind of puts your seller at ease, and to kind of give them an idea of what to look for. You know, that not to look for. The day that we could go under contract, sure, start looking for another home, or let me show you another home. But let's wait till we, you know, each stage that we get through is another time we get to exhale. We don't get to fully exhale until we get till we get the notification that we've recorded. So let's see. I'm looking at my notes to keep myself on point. So by this time, you've worked really hard to get to this point in a transaction. You should avoid risk by acting and anticipating any potential issues that could arise. Some best practices to avoid risk may include communicate clearly and often, communicate with everyone involved in that step of the transaction, copy assistants who are involved along with the main party. Set expectations up front. Do you need the inspection response the next day? You know, things to look at. Be sure you communicated that when you schedule. Stay professional, even if others don't. A person yelling at you does not force you to yell. The best way to control the situation is to lower your voice. Think about training puppies. If you get excited, that puppy's, especially if it's a big puppy, is going to jump all over you. But if you stay nice and calm, then that puppy will be calm. And it's, you know, just human nature by, you know, in everything. Timeliness, communication, and professionalism. These are your greatest tools to succeed in this business. A big part of professionalism is operating as a fiduciary for your client. So just know what your job is. As the listing agent, your job is to protect that seller. And when every seller is different, most of them, all of them want to get to the finish line. Most of them will understand that there will be negotiation. Because you can even say, don't you remember when you bought this house, you know, you had to negotiate a few points. So, but that's what I'm here for. I'll negotiate it for you. I'm going to make this as easy as possible. So, to communicate that to the seller or your buyer is quintessential. So again, communicate, even if it's with the other agents, every person that's involved, you need to communicate. Set up your expectations, get ahead of it. And no matter who is upset about anything, sometimes if I have a client that's getting upset, I will ask, do you want me to give you, you know, do you want some time to think about this? And I'll call you back in about an hour. You know, or is there a better time that we can talk about this? How about you get some questions and see if I can answer them and get us, you know, find a way to get around this. So, because I've had buyers and sellers, I've had a buyer that was expecting something and the seller was no way, not going to do it, no way, no how. And so then I said, well, wait, you know, we do want to move forward. How about if instead of paying somebody to come out to do this, how about if we just lower the price because we're just a week away from closing, whatever. And how do you feel about that? Because if we don't close next week, then we have to start the whole process all over again. And we may just actually come up against the same thing. And I never rat out a salty agent on the other side to my client, because again, I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to say, hey, look what I did. It's back to business. This is my job and this is what I'm doing and I'm going to do it well. And that will in turn, you will hire me time and time again, and you will tell all your friends to hire me. And I mean, I have, I've had buyers moving in on a snowy night. So you know what I'm doing? If I can't get someone to go out to shovel that driveway, I'm out there shoveling that driveway. So when they come up, they can move in. It's all these other little things outside of the transaction that you do that helps them remember you and more likely to refer you. Any questions or anything about that? Okay, again, be proactive, look at your timelines. And if you make a mistake, you don't have to go to your client and go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, I made a mistake. But own it. I overlooked this, I've rectified it, but you need to know about it. And you just be very matter of fact, very professional. It doesn't happen that often, but when it does, just own it. And then you can also find, early on, you're going to see where the risk of falling, where you have those chances of things going away. Mostly inspection, because you can't come to an agreement on repairs, or the appraisal. The house appraised lower than contract price, and the buyer and seller can't come to an agreement on that. Because sometimes sellers think that it's still up here, or sometimes buyers are like, haha, I got you. But, and sometimes you can actually question the appraiser, and but that's a different topic. So negotiations and knowing your craft, those are the best practices to keep a deal alive. And if you are stumped and you don't know how to do it, talk to your mentor, talk to somebody in your office, your principal. I had someone that was really sticky on my verbiage, and they wanted attorney speak. I don't speak attorney. I don't pretend to speak attorney, but I can fashion it out to where everybody who reads that contract, I like to get it to where like a 10-year-old can read it and understand it. So if somebody's expecting more than that, you're not going to get that from me. I want everyone to be able to understand it. So do you guys have your participant guides with you at all? Are you following along? I'm not grading anyone. I'm just checking in. But together we will think through and write down strategies you can use to help keep a deal together. As you answer the questions in the participant guide, refer to the timelines to help answer the questions. So where do you guys think the deal is at risk of falling apart? I said my speak.
Usually at one of the deadlines.
Yeah. What if somebody doesn't get their earnest money in? It's 2 weeks in and you still don't have a receipt. Can the seller terminate the contract? And if the earnest money then comes in, sometimes maybe they can still keep the earnest money as well, because the buyer breached the contract. Usually you don't want to be harsh about things, but if they missed out on something else, then you can follow through on that. So what are your best practices for keeping a deal alive?
Communication in your negotiations.
That's it. And when other agents like to work with you, that makes it easier for your next transaction as well. Even if it's a rough transaction, because sometimes they happen by no one's fault. Then you're like, but if you keep in communication, and whether you like or dislike the agent on the other side, as long as both people come to a professional level, your odds are much greater of getting to the finish line, And again, the biggest thing, don't be afraid to pick up that phone and, call someone who can help you negotiate through it or give you pointers. In every market center, there's always those people that are willing to help, and they can't do it for you, and they can only express what they've done in their experiences or how they would do it. Ultimately, it is up to you on how you want to run that transaction. But I don't care how long you've been in the business, it's always nice to get somebody else's opinion, because they may hear the situation with fresh ears and be able to come up with something that you never even thought about. So together, we will think through and record down strategies you can use to help keep a deal together. As your answer to the questions in your participant guide, refer to the timelines to help answer the questions. You know, we've said it before and we will probably repeat it. No deal is worth your reputation. Integrity is the I in the WI4C2PES. So we've talked about getting through rough patches and setting your deal up for successful close. Unfortunately, some deals will still not close. Some deals should not close. You know, if it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Don't ride a dead horse. Can anyone give me an example of when a transaction going to close is not in the best interest of your client? The number one thing that people negotiate is inspections. So if an inspection comes back with severe issues your clients can't afford to fix or that endanger your client's health or safety, when a clear or merchantable title cannot be reasonably guaranteed. So I had one at one point, the gentleman had passed. He did a BK within a year of his passing. It went directly to his daughter. They thought that they had done everything, the probate proper. They didn't go through an attorney. We get the title report, there's a red flag. It took us an additional 2.5 months to get that house closed. The seller's parent, surviving parent, was demanding things be done when really it was outside of everybody's control. It was a case with the court, so we had to wait until a certain amount of days passes before the judge could clear it. We still actually got it closed, but it was she had very choice words about who I was and my integrity. I just let her say what she had to say, not the actual client, but the parent. And you know, but we still got it closed. But that was one of those sticky wickets. I cannot close on this house if it has a cloudy title. It's not, you know, it's just the way it is. And sometimes if that happens, you can tell your listing agent or your seller, these are ways to remedy that. We can, you know, put it with another one. What if somebody goes to prison? The seller goes to prison. He can't even sign documents or she can't even sign documents. So what do? That person can't even sign documents to terminate the listing, to cancel it, because there's no way you can get into that individual to have them sign the necessary docs. So all you can do is write in the MLS, unable to take offers, and then communicate them to whatever agent is wanting to put in an offer or show the property. Sorry, there's nothing we can do. We're dead in the water. So don't try to push those, just let them happen. Because as we all know, life happens. So here we go. I'm going to be quiet and let you guys speak. What are your ahas for today? Over that section.
Just ways to try to communicate with the other parties. I think the very important is the communication, how you were saying, when the deal gets accepted, to, you know, to not let it slide. And communication is very important, because if we don't have communication, then we don't meet the deadlines. Yeah.
Kind of like your job.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
You're not an automatron of just, you know, doing paperwork or opening doors. You know, there's a reason why people hire you. And and I have clients that, you know, they closed on something or sold something 4 years ago, and they'll still call me with questions that are unrelated to real estate, but they need a contact. Sure, if it's in my Rolodex, yes, I still have a Rolodex. Here, going my way back machine. Let me share that number. They're in my phone too, but I like to, I'm very textile. So anybody else? Okay, next we'll talk about how we're going to turn a transaction into a client relationship that brings more business referrals and repeat business. We will also discuss how you can lead gen for more business by leveraging client reviews. So this is when you, if you're doing your job great, but you're afraid to ask people for something, this is the time to just forget about that and learn how to ask. Number one way how you get leads, you ask. How do you get, your listing and your buyers? You ask. Do you know anybody that you know? Do you know anyone who's looking to buy or sell? Something along that line, bring up the conversation of real estate anywhere. But I'll get back to the program here. So we've already covered that all the business is new, repeat, or referral business. Clients that feel like their experience with you was effortless and special are more likely to come back to you the next time they need to buy or sell a house. They're also more likely to refer others to you and write reviews, which will help generate new leads. So let's talk about how you can turn today's transaction into tomorrow's business. The command follow-up programs and the touch campaigns you leverage after a transaction will help you stay in close emotional proximity with your clients, so they think about you when they are ready to buy or sell again. Name of the game, be front of mind. Even if it is just a little text every 4 months, hey, just wishing you a happy new year, happy house anniversary, you find a way. So these are repeat business, referral business, and client reviews. So if you can start to muster this up at every conversation, drop a line that you're in real estate and your business thrives on referrals. Throughout the transaction with your buyer or seller, you can still ask them, hey, do you know of anybody else? I noticed your neighbor wanted to come to the open house. Are they looking to sell? And at the end of the transaction, you can always say, I'm good for referrals. If you were happy with the service I provided, please keep me in mind next time someone asks for an agent. So in addition to asking for referrals, ask for reviews because those are huge. Being a strong fiduciary, the local expert of choice, and exhibiting unmatched customer service leads to great reviews. Reviews can be leveraged on places like social media and your agent site. Reviews do not only communicate what it's like to work with you, they can also generate new leads. What do we do if we're looking for a restaurant? We flip through our phone and then we read the reviews. What if we're looking for a houseware? What do we do? Are people happy with this set of pots and pans, or is it just junk that I'm going to throw away in a year? So they're important. As we've discussed before, the most important thing you can do to get reviews is to give value, which is through your communication and the relationship, and to ask for the review. Real estate is more than just doing a job. It is a relationship, and you have a relationship with everybody, all those contact lists, everybody in that contact, that's a relationship. Start every relationship by letting the client know that you will ask for their 5-star review. And you can do that. Hey, I'm asking that you give me a review by the end of this transaction. I would like to give, to get a 5-star review. A transaction is not just the transfer of money and property or a commission check. Every transaction is a series of opportunities to be of service to your clients. When you give them excellent service and stay in close emotional proximity through their follow-up and touch campaigns, they will reward you with repeat business, referrals, and great reviews. So, ahas. As we know, I talk a lot. Now it's your turn. Is there anything that you can get from how you will get repeat business or referrals and to get someone to give you a review?
Do you get the review on the when you give them the keys or before, like, or the closing?
There's different ways depending on what platform you use to get a review. If let's say they give you a thank you card, you know, they're not techie at all, and they want to give you a thank you card, you get that, say, oh, thank you so much. Your words mean the world to me. May I take a picture of this and put it on my social media? You know, I'll block out your names or just use your first name. Is that okay? Get their permission. Or you can give them a link to say, please fill this out. You know, be honest, you know, please rate me. And I've even used, my principal broker is having a contest of who gets the best reviews, or, you know, who gets the most reviews, and present it that way. You know, I want to be number one. Number one.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about getting referrals and repeat business from previous clients. In order to do that, you have to stay on top of mind as the real estate expert of choice. So just remind everybody that you're a realtor. I don't care if it's your mom and dad, remind them. So post-close follow-up. This is where Command is just, it's a great platform. Staying the real estate expert of choice is all about staying in the relationship with your clients. You're going to stay in a relationship with a customized 36 touch plan for your new buyer or seller. A lot of these touches can and should be the same as your general 36 touch plan for your sphere. However, personalizing your plan adds more value to those, or for those you've closed business with. So they actually know you, they know what you're about. Because you've given them a great buying or selling experience, these are the people who are most likely to offer you referrals of friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, etc. So be sure that your touch plan has you asking for referrals. First, let's talk about the buyers. Put yourself in the buyer's shoes for a minute. What would you find helpful in the first year of owning a new home and like to get from your agent? What would bring value to your life and ownership? A housewarming gift that showed they know me? Any documents to help me with my taxes, referrals to contractors, introduction, this is great for out-of-towners, to dentists, stylists, mechanics, gyms, etc. And a lot of people that are new to town, I become their first point of contact if they need anything. You know, I need to go to the mechanic. I don't know anybody here. Oh, well, these are the 3 people that I use. So let people know that they can call on you. Acknowledge by buying acknowledgement of my buying anniversary. So, you know, a house anniversary. Congratulations, it's been a year. Please let me know how much, you know, tell me about your house. What's changed since I last saw you? Care calls. Especially when COVID was around, that was a great opportunity to just text somebody, and it can be a quick text. Hey, I'm thinking of you. How's everyone doing? Or at the beginning of school or at the end of school. Hey, I understand that this should be about the time that your son or daughter is graduating. Find something that is specific to that client and be sincere. They'll remember that. I know I get excited when someone sends me a text, hey, you know, do you remember XYZ? And it's like, oh, people do remember me. And equity updates. There's programs out there that either you can create it, you can actually share the TMO reports and say, hey, this is what's going on, because everybody loves to talk real estate. People, they want to know, because that's their biggest investment for the majority of people. And even if they're investors, they still want to know what's going on in the market. They may not live anywhere close by, but they want to know what's happening in that market. And that goes along with the updates in the neighborhood sales and notice of upcoming community events. I do on Facebook, I do a lot of shares of community events, the Snowflake Parade, the painting party, the Winter Wings Festival, where you can go down to the park and, you know, see birds or whatever. So just think about ways that you can do that. And about, how about in years 6 to 7 after they buy, how might your touches start being a bit different and why? Things focus more on the potential to move again, since we now move on an average every 8 years. The current value of their existing home, current interest rates, knowing their dream from your FORD conversations, such as they intend to retire to the mountains. So I just had a client that I sold them a house about 5.5 years ago. And they're like, okay, now we're ready to buy an investment property. I'm like, right on. When can I show you these homes? So, you know, and I've just dropped them a Christmas card every year just to say, hey, haven't heard anything, no response, and then out of the clear blue. So it happens. Often sellers are buyers also, so their plans will look the same as those we just discussed. Let's say a seller moves away from your area. Do you just take them off your touch plan? No. What can you still say? Blah, blah. What can you still stay in contact with them about? So find that commonality, you know, the kids, the school, the new job, are you digging it? Things like that. General acknowledgements of birthdays and holidays, tax documents, a gift of something they liked from where they used to live, like a particular type of coffee or an ornament of local interest. Updates on neighborhood area changes or celebrations if they were long-term residents. So why do you stay in touch with a seller who has moved away? Referrals. They likely still know people in your area and they can refer them to you. As their trusted advisor, they can seek you out for advice on a local agent for themselves and those they know in their new location, and you will earn a referral fee. Referrals are huge. So never be afraid to reach out to other agents. If we don't have Keller people in that area, that region, make friends with the different agencies that are there. My daughter is in Eugene, so sometimes I stop in some of the small agencies along the way just to say, hi, I'm Laura Knight. I'm with Keller Williams. If you ever have anybody down in Klamath Falls, or if they want to go to Lake County, please, I'll be more than happy to help. And I love referrals, and I'm open to paying referral fees. So it's all, again, relationships, communication, and don't expect something on just one count. Stop in several times. Hey, I was here a couple months ago. This time I brought you cookies or whatever. And so in addition to staying in contact with your clients and building those referrals, you should ensure you're continuing a positive relationship with your co-agents. What are the benefits of continuing a relationship with a co-agent? Getting info early about their new listings in a neighborhood you do business, learning from a more experienced agent, getting referrals. Established agents especially may only work in a particular neighborhood or price point and need to give out referrals that don't fit their brand or preferred market. And building your downline. We covered profit share in an earlier session. Every agent that comes over to KW, it indicates that you were the reason, goes into your profit share downline. That means that for every transaction where their market center makes money from them doing business, you make money from their business. So if you work with an agent at another brokerage that you enjoyed working with and you think they could benefit from KW, give their information to your team leader and follow up with them in a professional and friendly manner yourself. You can build up a group of great agents around you and build your passive income through profit share. And there's a whole class on the profit share. So what are some good ways to follow up with your co-op agent after a closing? Send a handwritten thank you card. Invite them to training. Send them a book to help them build a career. Maybe the MREA, The One Thing, The Shift, or the Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I like the MREA because a lot of people don't realize that if you just follow a system and then you adapt that system to your lifestyle, that you can make a career out of real estate. You just grit it out, stick through it. And it's, for me, I love doing real estate because I have freedom. I get to run it as my own business, and I'm in charge. I'm in charge with how I get to do things, and I get to run my business. Here's the set of rules, follow the rules, and you'll be fine. So any ahas on following up with other agents? Great, half of you are asleep, thank you. Just kidding. I'm a smart aleck, always have been. My parents dealt with it, so just kidding. Each day in Ignite, you grow in how you think, feel, act, and implement what you've learned. From learning and ahas, you move toward achieving your big life. And that's what we're here for, right? To fulfill our big goals. How do you feel about our objectives now that we are done? We set out to develop transaction timelines, apply best practices to avoid risk, identify ways to follow up after closing to build your business. And that's huge in building your business. When you leave today, what action do you think you should take? Will you send a thank you card to an agent you recently worked with? Create a more detailed timeline for your current transaction? Input checklists into opportunities? What do you guys think that you'll do today?
I'm gonna go buy some thank you cards.
Right on. So ask participants to write in their participant guide. Oh, sorry. Taking the time to reflect on what you've learned is important in building your confidence and celebrating your growth. We'll do this activity after each learning session so you can keep track of your learning journey. And now we move to our important daily success system time, where we work in our business together while supporting one another. So how have you grown in each one of these areas? Like, how has your thinking changed? What ideas or mindsets were new? And I've got to tell you, life is about mindset, not just your business, life in general. What do you feel differently about? What was meaningful to you today? How will your behaviors be different going forward? What actions will you take? And what tools, models, or systems will you use? How will they make you accountable? So what I can do is share a little story. Sometimes in life, a lot of things happen all at once. You can get overwhelmed and your business may suffer. Even if it is an empty nest situation or a change in family dynamic, anything like that, it can throw you off your game. So it's great to have a support system to where you can, where you have someone that can bring you up and get you back into that mindset. For me, sometimes just throwing a saddle over a horse and going for a 20-minute ride. I can't think of anything else except for staying on that horse. So it gives my mind a chance to stop. And then when I'm done, then everything else in the world makes sense and I can get right back at it. So, we all find things in our own way. Everyone You're thinking about all the things that can help you in moving forward in your mindset. All right. So your daily success system. So for 20 minutes, role play conversations with a partner. Top agents practice every day. And I will say that doing script practice, even if you don't have someone to practice with, if you stand in the mirror and you have your scripts and it's only a few minutes a day, there are so many scripts out there that help you navigate to always sound like the professional. They may just be words on a page, but the more you do it, the more it becomes who you are, to where you can pitch the script, you know the essence of the words on that script. So when a client asks you a question, you feel confident and it's coming from the core of who you are. You give them the answer, and that's why they come back. You can also prepare your call list for the day. And that's when you send out those little texts. Hey, just thinking of you. Or I've got one client that needs a place to park her car. I sold her a house last year. Yeah, come, I have a big driveway. Just park it over there, leave me a key. And if you're gone for 2 weeks, I'll start it, you know, a weekend. So your battery's still good. Things like that. But always stay in contact with people any way that you can. 45 minutes a day, real play. Is making contact and having conversations with as many people as possible with the goal of establishing and nurturing valued relationships, so that when people are ready to buy or sell, they think of you first. Okay, you can't tell, but at times I am an introvert. But in the very beginning, when I switched over to Keller Williams to let people know that I had switched over in a nonchalant way, I put my business, my for sale sign with my name and number on it, tucked it under my arm, and played like a dumb blonde, which was very easy for me, and just walked through Home Depot like I was looking for a sign, an H frame, just waiting for someone to ask me. And then I left a stack of cards where the FSBO signs are. But that's, you know, find ways, be creative. Anytime you go for a walk down Main Street, go into the shops, talk to them. And if you're getting a coffee, go to different coffee kiosks. Hey, you guys are young. Have you graduated college? I know you're deep in debt, but want to buy a house? You know, find ways, be silly, be who you are. I'm silly, so it works for me. But I actually get my job done. So that's always fun. Go out there and just let people know you're a realtor. Every cashier, every checker, when you're doing an open house, let people know why you've got these balloons. You're standing in line. Hey, I have these balloons, so I'm doing an open house. I've got cookies too. If you guys have any time, come by the open house. Also, in your 2 hours a day, take 30 minutes to update your database with information gathered from the conversations and following up on any promises made. Do this immediately after real play while it's fresh in your mind. And so, you know, Cassandra, who's a checker at Safeway, you know, make sure you get back in, give her a card with a note, or, you know, if you can text her your website, whatever. That's when you take that time. And if you do this time over time, it starts to add up. And it may seem like nothing's happening, but it's happening. And next thing you know, you'll get one call, and then a second call. And next thing you know, you're actually a full-time realtor and it's working. So anytime that you feel like your business is lagging, go look in the mirror and say, what have I done? And what else can I do to get me there? And if you look in the mirror and say, what have I done? And it's like, well, I really can't say. Then maybe go back to the basics and get back on it. But again, talk to everyone you know, let them know you're a realtor. And sometimes I get people that will call that says that they will say, I'm with a realtor, what do I do? I can't help you with that, you know, because I don't want someone to take my clients. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions, but in regards to showing or whatever, I can't do that. If you change your mind and you want to work with me, that I can help you with. You know, I've had people call, I'm unhappy with my agent. What do I do? You know, it's so find your best self to make that happen. And start tracking. It's really great. I'm looking for, I have my notebook. I have several notebooks. I date them, I scribble in them, I doodle, but when I need that information, I can remember where that was, pull that page out and input it into my system. And I'm running over, so I apologize, guys. So I'll talk real fast now. So moving into your daily success system, timekeeping in mind that the purpose is to develop the mindset, skills, and tools that you need to build relationships and secure an appointment with a potential buyer or seller. So what do you notice that is different from any previous version of the daily success system? At this point, you may be going on appointments, getting agreements signed, and even getting deals closed. If you have achieved any of these, you'll want to track your progress on them. Your daily success system tracker includes 10 conversations, 10 contacts, 10 handwritten notes, utilizing the 10-5-1 model for social media engagement, other enrichment offered at the end of each lesson and participant guide or of your own choice. You will keep accomplishing most of these goals during your daily success system. Keep doing these activities outside of class time as well. Work with your accountability partner and have fun. Fun is important. During the final update time, you may write notes and engage with social media. As you've learned, the first job of a real estate agent is lead generation, because the activity of generating leads is the foundation of your business. In addition, practicing conversations and dialogues will prepare you for success. That is appointments, signed agreements, signed contracts, sales closed. Of course, before we get involved in conversations with our sphere and lead generating, we must remember to comply with the TCPA and the do not call regulations. We review this every Ignite session because it is critical that you protect yourself and the market center from any legal action. Make this a permanent habit, following all guidelines for calling and texting people. Legal notice must say the following. Today, you're going to make calls to your sphere and people in your database. Before you make any calls or texts, please remember to honor the TCPA and do not call lists, including those of your market center and state. If you have any questions or concerns about this, please consult your market center or attorney to ensure compliance. Refer to the pages at the beginning of the participant guide for more details. These guidelines are for your protection as well as the protection of your clients. Let's review the importance of Telephone Consumer Protection Act and the do not call restrictions for when you make calls or texts to your database. Turn to the pages in your participant guide and let's go over this. So this is the boring stuff, but needs to be said. Does anybody else want to read the guidelines? Okay, read the entire TCPA guideline to participants. All righty. Glasses still needed expanded. The TCPA regulates calls and texts to cell phones and landlines, auto-dialed calls, pre-recorded calls, faxes and calls to numbers on the DNC registry. Class action litigation for TCPA violations is increasing, potentially exposing agents, market centers, and KWRI to catastrophic financial damages. Consult an attorney for guidance on the TCPA and DNC laws, including consent requirements, auto dialer restrictions, and pre-recorded messages. So auto dialers regulates calls and texts to the cell phone using an automatic telephone dialing system, prior express consent, written consent. In certain cases, a caller must have prior express consent before making a call. In other cases, prior express written consent is required. Artificial voice, pre-recorded messages. Never use artificial voice or pre-recorded messages without a consumer's prior express written consent. Penalties can cost up to $1,500 per violation. Federal and state laws. Several states have their own laws governing telemarketing. Talk with your broker about any local and market center rules and DNC lists. Do not call do's and don'ts. Under federal law, sellers and telemarketers may not call individuals listed on the Federal Trade Commissions. Do not call registry. Failure to comply with the DNC laws could result in substantial government fines and or civil legal actions. Consult an attorney regarding compliance with DNC laws. Subscribe to the registry. The DNC registry is hosted on a dedicated website. Your market center should subscribe to the registry and give you login credentials. Making any telemarketing calls without access to the registry violates federal laws. Honor consumer requests. Never call a number on the do not call registry. Honor an individual's request to be added to your internet DNC list. Check before you call. Before making a call, check to see if the number is on any of these lists: national do not call registry, state do not call list, and market center and agent list. If the number is on any of these lists, delete it. Beware of penalties. Penalties for the DNC violation total up to $43,280 per call. Fines for violating a state DNC rule can vary from $100 to $25,000. So it is important to be respectful, and I think everyone's good on that. So, gosh, guys, you want to keep going? It's 3:01, and let me just. So, do you feel like you're getting primed for success? Long-winded, but yes. Okay. So this is something, say it to yourself. I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in a relationship with me. And just repeat that over and over again. It really does help get your mindset going. Do you guys have someone to role play with in your sphere, in your family, a friend, a spouse, anybody that you can just have them be a listing agent or a seller with questions, or a buyer that doesn't know what they want? So it helps. You can get scripts. You can give a script to the other person. But once you start doing that, it makes it easier when you're, practice with a friend instead of on a client, because you'll do a lot better that way. So, come on, prepare your conversation list, So let's say you have 10 people that you're calling. What are you going to call them about? What are you going to say? Even if it's one word at a bullet point to help you remember, and it gives you something to focus on should you get nervous or stumped. It's really, it's a great tool. Lead gen conversations. There's all sorts of scripts out there to help you with that. So, between why should I pick you to, well, I really want to buy a house, but I don't know where to begin. So there's plenty of lists of scripts out there to help you. And they're in your Connect. You can just put it into the search, and there's scripts. Also the daily emails, or what's happening this week. There's script practice. If you click on that, the scripts will be there. So if it doesn't necessarily work with your timeline because of whatever's going on in life, then you can use that. Just always affirm that I engage every conversation in the spirit of contribution, and people are happy to be in relationship with me. So if you need to like boost yourself up before you start making those calls, lean in on that. Celebrate your successes. write down in your journal the things that you feel like you've successfully done. Is it, you've made those 10 calls, even if nobody answered, you know, you've made those calls, you've done what you've needed to do. If you've had challenges, write yourself a note. You did a great job of negotiating that. Find ways to keep your mindset that you're doing it. You're actually doing it. There's so many agents out there that think about it, but they're not doing it and they don't celebrate themselves. I'm not saying like, you know, get all excited. Hey, I lost one, but hey, I learned a lot from that. You know, I learned something. So, so it's important. Celebrate your successes and find success in everything you touch. You know, even if it seems like it's a negative, it's like a snow globe. You know, you got to shake it up to see where the snow falls. So, and you know that you can go to Keller Williams University for help on your command. There's Marty Miller that's online. There's our own network of people that are there to help us with our technology. So take advantage of the technology. A lot of the other agencies do not have the platforms we have. And they did a lot of work rolling it out through the years. So it would be in your best interest to use your command as much as possible. And just stay with that daily success system. And then use your command and connect to get help. Prepare for your next session, which is plan your future, which I do believe is with Kay Ree. And she will probably be much more polished and on top of it. But I want to say thank you guys for being here. Do you have any questions or anything that you would like to talk about? Or you want me to send you all coffee cards to kind of like, you know, if I do another one, you can stay awake for it. I'm just kidding. Any ahas or takeaways from today's session? Okay, it is 3:07. So thank you guys so very, very much for sticking in here with me. And any questions you have, you feel free to call me at any time. My number is 541-331-1729. Just you can find me in through command and reaching out to other agents. I am in Klamath Falls. And if you just have little questions, you just need someone to tell you a happy story, call me, text me, and I will, because sometimes real estate can, you know, it is a contact sport. It can be rough, but it has great rewards. So thank you,
so much.
everybody. Oh. Thanks, Jeannie.
Thank you.